When I first heard that Sesame Street the Musical was coming out, I was delighted with joy, especially since Elmo was not the core focus of the main marketing. But then there was this image I had in my mind. With the press release stating that it would feature stars from Broadway and beyond, I thought it would be a live-stage show how Avenue Q was done with exposed puppeteers, and a realistic street set, with Broadway stars such as Ariana DeBose, who hosted the Tony Awards twice. David Hyde Pierce from the musical that should have won Best Musical That Being Curtains, and Avenue Q's Princeton. I'm only kidding with the last one mentioned. Half kidding. But then the musical came out and was not what I expected. It was really good from the clips that were released, and really gave me expectations of this show. But then I saw the actual musical and
it was alright.
I do have a lot of positive things to say about this musical, and it's really quite impressive. First of all, instead of giant recurrent characters, they are puppets. Seeing the Muppets in their natural form is quite impressive and a nice change in pace compared to the recurrent-based productions that came beforehand. And dare I say that they look good. And instead of actors trying to do impressions like the previous musicals, they got the actual Muppet voice cast to lend their talents to the actual Muppets. It comes off more of a place of love for the franchise. And the storyline is about the Muppets from Sesame Street doing a musical for their audience friends, but then Gabrielle points out that there's no guest star, so Grover gets the idea to put up a flyer to attract possible guest stars. Enter a human audience member who gets lost looking for the seat, and then is automatically thrown into the fray with Gabrielle and the Count, along other characters you will probably recognize as Wacky Hijinks and Sue. Alright, in the original production the human was Steven, and in the second run of the show the main human was Genevieve. This is what I like about the show. The human character can be played by anyone, so it gives audiences a different experience. Not going to lie, the show was too focused on the human character and it could have focused a little more on the Muppets in my opinion. But then again, what's a Sesame Street show without some human character to interact with the characters? There is quite a nice inclusion of characters, like, of course, Bert and Ernie do play a pretty big role in the show. Like when I saw a preview, I was worried that it was going to be another Bert isn't hip with it at all because he can't dance and he's a square storyline that Elmo Rocks and Let's Dance went with. Instead it's Bert pissed that Ernie is delaying their big musical number by hiding. Now that's what I call a certified Bert and Ernie storyline. Jonathan Rockefeller did these characters much more justice than whatever Felt would have done, or how they were portrayed in Let's Dance. As well as Bert and Ernie, other characters do play roles in the show, with Rosita helping the main human with the singing lessons, Gabrielle teaching the main human how not to be nervous, Abby teaching the main human how to have confidence, Count teaching the human how to dance, Grover and Elmo teaching the main human how to imagine. Cookie Monster is just there for his songs, and that's pretty much it. Now don't you think Sesame Street has forgotten about their classic characters, and assortment of other characters, such as honkers, who weren't in Felt Sesame Street live shows, but were mentioned to Make Your Magic during What Makes Music, 2 Yip Yip Martians. Okay, first of all, good on Jonathan Rockefeller for actually including them, and the best part, not calling them as the Yup Yups as VSTAR called them during their one appearance. There's even these weird fuzzy funk Muppets from one old Sesame Street VHS I watched as a child. I think it was that a 25th anniversary special, I believe, but the exclusions are what really drags me down. I think the obvious one is Big Bird, like I get his exclusion, but I really think they should have done what they did for Noel McNeil's better and have a hand puppet version of this character, with or without his trademark necktie, but I was shown the light and now prefer Tuxedo Big Bird. I think the story was pretty serviceable, but definitely not as strong as some of the Sesame Street live shows of the past. Like, this feels more like an excuse to have newly recorded versions have the Sesame Street songs as a greatest hits review. Like, compare this to Make Your Magic, a show where a lot of the songs fit with the story of Elmo trying to learn a magic trick and learn a lot of new things that are everyday magic. Or Let's Be Friends, a story about Elmo and Zoe starting a friendship club. Hell, even Out of This World could get away with a serviceable story with the Martians trying to learn more about humans, even though it felt like a staged episode. This one's just an excuse to fill a 60-minute runtime with no intermission, with mainly songs from the show rather than trying to tell a cohesive story. But does it really need a strong story? Not really, but in my eyes, the show's storyline is fine as is and doesn't need much tweaking, just not as strong as some of my favorite Sesame Street live shows. Oh yeah, that's another thing I loved about the show. The music. I did complain about this being mostly a reason to re-record the songs, but man were they really good re-recordings. Some of my favorite ones in this particular production are C is for Cookie, which is mixed in with Me and What Me Am, which is better than just the 30-second snippet of the song like other productions. Rubber Ducky, where Ernie sings the praises of his favorite bath toy while Bird tries to call his agent. Fuzzy and Blue, where Grover and Cookie sing Fuzzy and Blue joined by an orange Martian. That's nice. Sing After Me, where Rosita teaches Steven how to sing, and name edits King DDD for some reason. I love Trash, where Oscar, portraying the role of the critic, talk about fitting casting, showing off his theater collection, including a script, a guitar, and even a Tony Award, which is not specified, but I'm saying this. Trash Tony was awarded to Book of Mormon, and almost got the moves where he's joined by Living Shoes. Huh. I guess Jonathan Rockefeller was well aware of the existence of Big Bird's Sesame Street story, so it was funny to make that Elmo's New Shoes connection. Anyways, the show also boasted 3 original songs, and all of them, well, first of all, were a musical was the best of the 3, encapsulating musical theater vibes. One of the strongest show theme songs, which is right up there with my favorite color from Elmo's coloring book, or Anywhere at All from 1, 2, 3 Imagine, or the title songs from Let's Play School, When I Grow Up, and Let's Be Friends. Tom Kitt's song was pretty weak, like they could have used Elmo's In Your Imagination song instead, and B.A. Star's the weakest of the 3, written by Helen Park. This song was just generic. I'm not going to lie that I didn't care for Tom Kitt and Helen Park writing songs for a Sesame Street musical, but they were pretty mid in my opinion. We're in a Musical was the only song out of the 3 completely original songs that I actually liked. Tom Kitt and Helen Park were completely unnecessary, like that would have been fine if they got away with reworked versions of In Your Imagination and Sing. Nate Edmondson did a great job with the orchestrations on the song he wrote, like No Need for Tom and Helen. Like Nate is probably this musical's equivalent to John Baker, a composer who is able to put his own musical spin on a legacy brand. Nate does play it safe sometimes, but his original spins are pretty prevalent throughout the show, such as I Love Trash, Paintball Number Count, which has a really jazzy spin to it. Like, this is a pretty decent Sesame Street show in my opinion, not the best mind you, but definitely a welcome surprise, and much better than 2/4 of the Sesame Street live shows I saw. Of course, Bean Elmo makes music and lets party to a certain extent. I give this a solid 7 out of 10. Go see it before it closes on October 29th. Wait a minute, you certainly thought I was going to leave you all without a ranking of all the parody posters. Well, you'd be wrong. I'm going to do a ranking of all the parody posters that the show has in the show lobby and some of the ones they've been posting online. So without further ado, let's get this mini ranking started. Taking first place we have Lament. First of all, it captures the spirit of the design so well with different pictures of pigeons and 2 separate bird images. And the lyrics 525,600 pigeons. I did actually see this musical and it was pretty good. 10 out of 10. Best parody poster. Fraction of the Ekra Count's my favorite character and probably seeing him in a show that fits in well. The text is pretty spot on, and the Count promo photo they use is very weird. Like it's one from the actual show and not one of those promo shots. It's probably a 9 out of 10 because I just like Count. Still a better musical than Bats. Then there's some like the Honk. Oh, you know how I feel about the Honkers. They're such great background characters and seeing them taking a lead role is quite epic in my eyes. Solid parody poster, and while an obvious choice, a pretty solid interpretation. Then we have Les Macaroons. Better name for the Les Miserables parody Sesame Street did a few years back, and it's quite a funny parody poster. Cookie being showered by cookies, with him being outlined by the French colors. I think Sesame Place had a funnier poster with less monsterables, but I think this is a higher ranking, since Sesame Street gave us this story's moment.
There's the cookie on a cloud.
Yeah, okay, that too far up.
Come from very far away. Yeah, I have to say it's a pretty fun poster and one of the greatest uses of the Sesame Street Martians in a long time. Jukebox the Musical. It definitely gets the point across, but in my opinion I don't have any strong feelings on Hadestown, so a great parody. Elmo, Oklahoma. The critics say if you love Elmo, Oklahoma, stay there, as long as Robin Cookie Hood runs in Boston. Then there's Furry Girl. I saw a little bit of the original film that's pretty funny. I think this is a great lead role for Rosita, and the show took its final bow, so it was nice of Sesame Street to post this parody poster before it took its final bow. Then there's Magical, the Cadabby musical. Never saw Beautiful, the Carole King musical, but I think the poster did a great job with the parody element, with a funny and character tagline. This musical is magical. 9 out of 10. Then there's Waiter. It's pretty much in character for Grover, like this would be a musical he would star in. Like this is a bit of the weaker of the top 5 posters, since it doesn't give Grover a pie. Would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Then there's Little Shop of Hoopers. It's fine I guess. At least it stars plans. Once Upon a Monster, it's fine. Does get the point across, but one of my lesser favorite parodies. Back to the Future the Musical. It's pretty funny, but I'm not going to lie, Broadway has had a lot of 1980s movie adaptations lately. I don't mind since it's better than the movies we have now. 5, it's just the number 5, and I hate the actual 6th musical. Moving on. School of Rocco. This is the point where I decided to side with Elmo on the whole Rocco debate. Like Rocco was cool in the 2000s, but it's not even funny anymore. It was an obvious choice for a musical parody, but I am currently neither on the side of Elmo or Zoe anymore. I'm pretty indifferent. Last but least is Groverton, a super musical. It's just Grover on the Hamilton star. Just Grover. As much as I love Hamilton, this is the laziest out of all the parodies this musical has made. Spermitten at least sounded better and Oscar was doing the pose. Worst parody of them all. Woo, that was a long one. I sure hope the next one isn't as long. Oh right, I forgot I have a Disney on Ice ranking that's going to be an hour long and one of the biggest videos on the channel so far. How could I forget what the actual
Rubber ducky, you're fine.
Boy, I'm lucky you're mine.
Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond of.
Rubber ducky, I'd like a whole pond of.
Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond.